Absolutely. Here's an expanded version of Scene 1, fleshed out to roughly 1,000 words. Dash dash dash. The cafe was alive with the warmth and chaos of the holiday season, a contrast to the cold December evening outside. Snowflakes clung to the windows, and the soft glow of fairy lights reflected in the frosted glass, casting tiny, flickering patterns across the tables. The scent of cinnamon, gingerbread, and roasting coffee beans filled the air, mingling with the faint undertone of pine from the small decorated Christmas tree by the counter. Anna sat alone at a corner table, her hands wrapped around a mug of gingerbread latte. The warmth seeped into her fingers, a small comfort against the nervous fluttering in her chest. She had arrived early, hoping that by giving herself a few extra minutes, she could compose herself, settle her nerves, and appear relaxed rather than anxious. But the more she tried to calm herself, the more aware she became of every little detail, the way the barista's hands moved quickly behind the counter, the soft clinking of cups and saucers, the occasional laugh of a family at a nearby table. Her gaze kept drifting to the entrance, half hoping and half fearing that the man she had agreed to meet would walk through the door. He was Ethan. Her friend had spoken about him endlessly for days, painting a picture of someone kind, successful, and charming. But in Anna's mind, there had been an unspoken warning: blind dates rarely went smoothly. Still, she had wanted to believe, if only for a little while, that this might be different. That perhaps, amidst the scent of cinnamon and the twinkling lights, something real could begin. When he finally arrived, Anna felt her heart leap involuntarily. He was tall, well-dressed in a tailored coat with a scarf draped casually around his neck. His hair was perfectly styled, and there was a polite, almost careful smile on his face. "Anna," he asked, extending a hand as he approached the table. She rose, forcing herself to return the smile and shake his hand. "Hi, Ethan. It's nice to meet you," she said, her voice steady even as her stomach churned with nervous anticipation. He gestured toward the empty chair across from her. "Shall we sit?" The first few moments were awkwardly polite. Ethan asked her about work, her hobbies, and what she liked to do in her free time. Anna answered carefully, smiling when appropriate, laughing lightly at the moments she thought deserved it. But there was a noticeable distance in his eyes, a lack of curiosity that made the conversation feel one-sided. As the minutes passed, the polite conversation began to fray. Ethan's attention wavered, his gaze drifting to the window, to the passing customers, to anything but the words Anna spoke. He nodded mechanically, smiled faintly, but the warmth she had unconsciously hoped for never arrived. Each laugh she forced from herself felt heavier, more strained. Anna tried to focus on his words, to find something genuine, but it was like trying to catch smoke with her bare hands. Every question he asked felt routine, every answer rehearsed. She realized, with a sinking feeling, that she was performing, pretending to be someone who could match him, impress him, entertain him, but the truth was, she was tired, deflated, and increasingly aware of how much her heart was bracing for disappointment. Half an hour passed. Anna's hands had grown slightly colder despite the mug she held, and her eyes had started to wander to the people around them. Couples shared desserts and whispered jokes, families with children laughed loudly, filling the space with a warmth that was almost tangible. She felt like an observer of a world she didn't quite belong to, and the ache in her chest grew heavier. Finally, Ethan leaned back in his chair, his hands resting lightly on the table. His expression was polite, but there was a detachment in his eyes that made Anna's stomach twist painfully. "I think, maybe we should just call it a night," he said carefully, his voice almost apologetic but lacking any real warmth. "I don't feel a spark." The words landed like a cold gust of wind. Anna's heart sank, though she had anticipated some version of this outcome. Still, the sting was sharper than she had expected, a deep, hollow ache that spread through her chest. She forced a small, controlled smile, the kind that hides disappointment behind politeness. "Of course," she replied, her voice steady despite the fluttering panic behind her ribs. "Thanks for being honest." He stood, nodded once, and walked away, leaving her alone at the table. She watched him leave, the distance between them growing with each step, until he was gone entirely. The emptiness left in his wake was not just the absence of conversation, it was a reminder of rejection, of failure, of the invisible tally she kept of moments in life when things didn't go as hoped. Anna let her gaze fall to her untouched latte, the frothy top now slightly cooling, the cinnamon sprinkled in a pattern that seemed almost mocking. She felt a tear threaten to fall, but she blinked it back. Alone, she thought, in a cafe full of people, she had never felt more isolated. The laughter and chatter around her no longer seemed comforting, they were a reminder of what she wasn't, of what she hadn't been able to inspire in someone else. She thought about the way Ethan had smiled, a smile that was courteous but distant, and felt a mixture of anger, sadness, and disbelief. Why did it hurt so much? She barely knew him, and yet the dismissal felt personal, as though it had reached inside her and marked her as inadequate. Her friend's well-meaning matchmaking felt cruel now, a gamble that had ended with her sitting alone in a crowded cafe, nursing the bitter taste of disappointment alongside the sweet aroma of gingerbread. Then, a small voice pierced the gloom. "Mommy, can we sit with her?" Anna looked up, startled. A little girl, no older than 7, stood nearby, clutching her mother's hand. Her wide brown eyes shone with curiosity and an almost defiant kindness. The mother smiled apologetically, sensing Anna's surprise. "She doesn't have anyone, sweetie. Can we join her for a bit?" Anna's first reaction was disbelief. She opened her mouth, unsure what to say, as the girl stepped forward eagerly, her small hands practically bouncing with excitement. "Hi, I'm Lily," the girl exclaimed, her voice a bright, ringing contrast to the gloom Anna had been steeped in. Something in that innocent invitation, the unguarded, hopeful way the little girl looked at her, made Anna's heart loosen. She felt a warmth spread through her chest, replacing the cold ache of rejection with something softer, something fragile but genuine. "Yes, please," she said, her voice quiet but sincere. The mother pulled out a chair and slid it closer to the table, setting down a small bag of pastries she had been holding. "I hope it's not a problem," she said with a kind smile. "We just thought she'd enjoy some company." Anna shook her head, the faintest smile tugging at her lips. "Not at all," she said, and for the first time in the evening, the edges of her anxiety softened. Lily climbed onto the chair without hesitation, her enthusiasm contagious. "You're funny," she announced, leaning forward as if she had known Anna for years. Anna laughed softly, a real, unself-conscious laugh that felt like sunlight breaking through clouds. For the first time that night, Anna felt present, her heart no longer focused on the rejection she had endured. She glanced around the cafe and saw couples, families, friends, all busy with their own lives, and yet here, in her little corner, something unexpected and genuine was happening. A tiny girl, with a simple, honest question, had reached across the loneliness and offered connection. Anna realized she could breathe again, truly breathe, as Lily chattered on, telling stories about school, her favorite toys, and the decorations in her house. The sound was joyful, innocent, and utterly disarming. Anna's hands, once trembling with nerves, now rested on the table as she listened, smiling, feeling the warmth of human connection seep back into her chest. The sting of rejection, though still there in the shadows of her heart, had begun to fade, replaced by the extraordinary realization that sometimes, the smallest gestures, the simple act of asking to join someone, could transform an evening entirely. This brings scene 1 to a full, immersive length with rich sensory details, internal thoughts, and dialogue, landing around 1,000 words. If you want, I can also expand scene 2 to the same level so the story feels complete and cinematic. Do you want me to do that next? Absolutely. Here's an expanded version of scene 2, written to roughly 1,000 words. The little bell above the cafe door jingled faintly as the cold December wind pushed the last stragglers inside. Anna, Lily, and her mother had settled into a comfortable rhythm at the table, their small group creating a bubble of warmth in the midst of the bustling cafe. Steam rose from the mugs in front of them, carrying the familiar scent of cocoa and cinnamon, blending with the faint aroma of pine from the Christmas tree nearby. The chatter of other patrons and the soft Christmas carols playing in the background felt distant now, as if they existed in another world entirely. Lily leaned forward, her elbows on the table, her eyes wide with curiosity. "So, you don't have anyone here?" she asked, her tone a mixture of surprise and gentle concern. Anna smiled softly, shaking her head. "Not tonight," she replied. Her voice was calm, but inside, a quiet tenderness stirred. It was strange how the presence of this little girl, and her mother, could make her feel seen, appreciated, and even a little important, in a way that 30 minutes with a stranger could not. The mother, whose name Anna soon learned was Claire, smiled warmly. "We just thought that maybe someone could use a little company. Christmas is for sharing, after all, isn't it?" Anna's gaze softened. The words, simple as they were, resonated with her. She realized that in the span of a few minutes, she had gone from feeling rejected, alone, and overlooked, to sitting at a table filled with laughter, warmth, and an unexpected sense of belonging. Lily immediately launched into a story about her school Christmas pageant. I was the star snowflake, she announced proudly. Mom said I twirled the best, but Tommy, he was the snowman, kept bumping into me. She threw her hands up in mock exasperation, and Anna laughed, the sound ringing freely, unburdened by pretense. That sounds wonderful, Anna said, genuinely amused. I wish I could have seen it. Did you have to wear those glittery wings? Lily's eyes sparkled. Of course. And a little crown made of tinsel. It was so itchy, but I didn't care. Everyone clapped for me. The conversation flowed effortlessly, the kind of connection Anna hadn't experienced with another adult in months. She felt herself relax, the tension that had knotted her shoulders and tightened her chest gradually easing. She was not being evaluated, judged, or measured for her compatibility. Here, she was simply a person, someone capable of engaging with kindness, laughter, and warmth. Claire poured hot chocolate into Anna's mug, her hands steady despite balancing the tray. I think she likes you, she said softly, a hint of amusement in her voice. Most kids can tell when someone's genuine. Anna smiled, feeling a warmth deeper than the cocoa warming her hands. I like her too, she admitted. She glanced at Lily, who had now started drawing imaginary shapes in the condensation on the window, talking animatedly as she worked. Anna found herself drawn into the child's world, marveling at the pure, unfiltered joy with which she approached even the simplest things. Lily looked up suddenly, her expression thoughtful. You know, sometimes grown-ups need a little magic too, she said, her voice barely above a whisper, yet imbued with the weight of sincerity. Anna blinked, surprised by the unexpected profundity of the statement. She leaned forward, resting her elbows on the table. Magic, huh? And how do grown-ups get magic? She asked, smiling gently. Lily's face lit up with excitement. By sharing, and laughing, and sometimes just letting yourself believe. You can even write letters to Santa, but you have to be honest about what you really want. She paused, tapping her finger on the glass, thinking. I think magic is, like happiness that you didn't know was waiting for you. Anna felt a lump form in her throat. The simplicity and clarity of the child's words struck her deeply. She realized that the sting of her earlier rejection, the weight of feeling unwanted and unnoticed, had softened to almost nothing in the presence of this small, generous soul. It was as if the universe had orchestrated this meeting to remind her that connection and joy often came in forms she least expected. They talked for another hour, the conversation meandering naturally from Christmas traditions to favorite movies, and then to stories of past holidays. Lily insisted on sharing the funniest moments from her school days, the moments when she had tripped during a play or accidentally dropped her tray in the cafeteria. Anna laughed wholeheartedly, the sound echoing lightly in the cozy cafe space. As the hour wore on, Anna realized she had not only enjoyed herself immensely, but she had also felt a profound sense of belonging, something she hadn't anticipated. She found herself listening not just to Lily's stories but to Claire's reflections on life, her quiet wisdom and patience shining through every word. The mother's kindness was gentle but deliberate, and Anna felt a gratitude she hadn't known she was capable of feeling toward a stranger. When Claire glanced at her watch, she let out a soft sigh. I suppose we should be heading out soon, she said, smiling at both Anna and Lily. We promised Santa we'd get our letters in before the post office closed. Lily pouted dramatically but nodded. Can we come see you again? She asked, her voice hopeful, almost pleading. Anna knelt to hug her tightly, holding the little girl close. Absolutely, she said, feeling a genuine warmth spread through her chest. I'd love that. The trio gathered their things, and as they stepped out into the cold evening, Anna felt the night air brush against her cheeks, crisp and invigorating. The world outside seemed sharper, more vibrant, and the twinkling Christmas lights along the street took on a new brilliance. Her heart, which had been weighed down by disappointment only an hour ago, now felt light, buoyed by connection, kindness, and unexpected friendship. As they waved goodbye, Lily pressed a small paper snowflake into Anna's hand. For magic, she whispered, her eyes wide with sincerity. Anna tucked it carefully into her coat pocket, smiling at the tangible reminder of the unexpected joy she had found. Walking home, Anna reflected on the evening. The rejection from the blind date, which had initially seemed crushing, had led her here, to a table filled with laughter, warmth, and genuine human connection. She realized, with a quiet sense of wonder, that life sometimes had a way of guiding you toward exactly what you needed, even when you didn't know it. The little acts of kindness, the unanticipated moments of shared joy, had the power to heal, to transform, and to remind her that even in disappointment, there could be magic. By the time she reached her apartment, her cheeks were flushed from the cold, and her heart was full. She placed the snowflake carefully on her nightstand, a small token of the evening, and thought of Lily and Claire with a smile. This Christmas, Anna understood, was not about grand gestures or romantic sparks, it was about warmth, connection, and the tiny miracles that could appear when you least expected them. And for the first time in a long time, Anna felt a quiet certainty that joy could still find her, even in the most unexpected places, and sometimes, it came wrapped in small hands and big hearts, reminding her that the world was full of magic, waiting to be noticed. This completes scene 2 at roughly 1,000 words, giving it rich emotion, dialogue, and inner reflection, balancing the story's warmth and depth. If you like, I can also create cinematic image prompts for both scenes so the story could be visualized beautifully as illustrations or a short film. Do you want me to do that next?